Ava DuVernay's The New Gods film and James Wan's The Trench movie are not moving forward at Warner Brothers anymore. Does that mean there's still hope for the Snyderverse to continue? Yes, 2 DC films that won't be happening at Warner Brothers anytime soon. And we can add it to the big long list of DC projects announced by Warner Brothers that have never ever happened. This comes from The Hollywood Reporter. Ava DuVernay's New Gods, James Wan's The Trench DC movies not moving forward at Warner Brothers Pictures. This is from Boris Kitt and Aaron Couch. April 1st, 2021 at 1:21 PM. And this isn't an April's Fool's joke. The terror of the deep and the fire of apocalypse won't be felt anytime soon. Warner Brothers and DC Films' upcoming slate is moving forward without Ava DuVernay's New Gods and James Wan's Aquaman spin-off, The Trench. As part of our DC slate, some legacy development titles including New Gods and The Trench will not be moving forward, Warner Brothers and DC said in a statement. We thank our partners Ava DuVernay, Tom King, James Wan and Peter Safran for their time and collaboration during this process and look forward to our continued partnership with them on other DC stories. The projects will remain in their skillful hands if they were ever to move forward in the future. New Gods, which DuVernay has been developing as a directing vehicle with acclaimed comic book writer Tom King since 2018, would have brought to the screen the comic book characters created by the late and legendary artist Jack Kirby. DuVernay, however, remains in the DC fold and is currently working on the DC series Naomi for the CW. The Trench, meanwhile, was to have been a horror project spinning out of the Aquaman and focused on the group of the deadly creatures seen in the $1 billion grossing 2018 film. Noah Gardner and Aidan Fitzgerald had written the script, which Wan was developing as producer with collaborator Peter Safran. Wan, too, remains in the DC fold as he's prepping to shoot Aquaman 2 for the studio later this year. The projects have been shelved, but like many comic characters, could come to life down the road. DC Films, led by President Walter Hamada, is leaving the door open to revisit those properties in the future. But insiders note that when it became clear the upcoming DC slate did not have a natural spot for the New Gods or the Trench over the next few years, executives believed it was best not to leave the filmmakers hanging in development without a clear end in sight. DC is currently building an interconnected slate in which projects will feed in and out of the big screen and the small, with films such as James Gunn's The Suicide Squad spinning off into John Cena-led HBO Max series Peacemaker and Matt Reeves' The Batman spawning its own Gotham Police Department-focused show. With The Trench, sources say that the upcoming Aquaman sequel was considered enough, but Warner's could come back to it down the line if there's thirst for more adventures set in the Atlantean kingdoms. It was also considered a possibility for streaming, but it is more of a standalone story rather than having a strong tie-in into Aquaman or the rest of the DC universe. New Gods, which had been a sprawling tale, was complicated by the fact that its villain Darkseid just appeared as a major foil in Zack Snyder's Justice League, and there was desire to have space between the latter and any new appearances. Except for the Batman, which is set on an alternate Earth known to geeks as Earth 2. DC is plotting its films and shows to share the same universe. Key to setting up its new status quo will be The Flash, which will tackle the multiverse, and is said to also lend clarity to the future of the Justice League with multiple Batmen, as well as Supergirl appearing. Other projects on the slate due out in 2022-2023 include Warner's and New Line's Black Adam, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, as well as Warner's Blue Beetle, Batgirl, Supergirl, Green Lantern Corps, and Static Shock. Satana and a third Wonder Woman are also in development, while an upcoming Superman from producer J.J. Abrams and screenwriter Ta-Nehisi Coates is too early in development to say if it will be connected to the larger DC universe, or if, like the Batman, will stand on its own. Now, look. Yeah, okay, so these are 2 movies that I wasn't counting down the days to, but when they were to come out, I would have watched them, of course, because they're DC projects. But The Trench isn't happening, even though I enjoyed that scene in Aquaman. I thought it was pretty cool, but they're not moving forward with a series or a movie there whatsoever. New Gods isn't happening, and I've been saying for a long time that New Gods wouldn't happen because it's going to be a very expensive movie. We're in a pandemic, and probably the last nail in the coffin there was Darkseid appearing in Zack Snyder's Justice League, because if they were to move forward with another New Gods movie, they would have to use the Darkseid that Zack Snyder Snyder had, because it's very popular right now. People know Darkseid from that movie. D-Sad, Granny Goodness, Steppenwolf. They know those characters from Snyder's world. And if they wanted to go forward with a future project, they would have to use Snyder's IP, Snyder's characters to move forward. Because if they didn't, if they made a New Gods movie, a new one, a reboot, then fans would be wondering, that's not the Darkseid I've seen over there. Why is it different? So that maybe is what killed Uwe de Veneer's New Gods movies. But I do think it would have been too expensive to move forward, especially in a pandemic world that we're in right now, where box office isn't too kind to movies. But yeah, so those two movies I won't miss. I would have watched them when they came out. No big deal if they're cancelled, but still, it's Warner Brothers announcing projects. It's them promising stuff to the fans and then backtracking and saying, no, we're not doing it anymore. I'm sick of that shit, because I don't believe a DC movie is coming until it's actually there for me to go in and watch it on the big screen, or to download it on whatever platform I have. Because at the end of the day, they announce movie after movie, show after show, and half of the shit does not happen. And it kind of annoys me as a DC fan. And say what you want about Marvel, when they announce something, they back their decisions. If they tell you as a fan, this movie's coming out, it's coming out, end of story. This is who's in it, this is who's directing, and we're going to watch this movie for you. Entertainment. DC hasn't grasped that whatsoever. They don't really listen to their fans. They're trying to build a new universe of new characters, of new fans as well, which I will be there. I will watch the movies, but I just think, again, DC don't have their shit sorted out. Now, there's some interesting parts about this article that I wanted to pick out. Now, there's two ways we can take this. New Gods is not happening because Zack Snyder's Justice League is getting number 2 and 3, and Zack Snyder is going to be covering the New Gods in his story. Or the other counter argument to that is that they want space between the two projects, because they want enough time to pass so people forget about Zack Snyder's Justice League and his Darkseid, and then 10 years from now they greenlight a New Gods movie with Darkseid and they can reboot the entire thing. So those are two possibilities. Which is true? I don't know. This is the optimistic side. This is the negative side. Let's see how it goes. But New Gods, which would have been a sprawling tale, was complicated by the fact that its villains, Darkseid, just appeared as a major foil in Zack Snyder's Justice League, and there was desire to have space between the latter and any new appearances. So if they were to greenlight a Darkseid show or movie right now, it would cause too much confusion, because the character will be different from Zack Snyder, and people are like, that's the Darkseid I want to watch. So maybe that's what's happening right there. Maybe that's what killed the New Gods movie with Ava DuVernay. I don't know. What's your guys' thoughts? I'm interested to hear. Also, they talked about the larger DC universe. Except for the Batman, which is set in an alternate Earth known to geeks as Earth 2. DC is plotting its films and shows to share the same universe. Key to setting up its new status quo will be The Flash 2022, which will tackle the multiverse and is said to also lend clarity to the future of the Justice League and multiple Batman as well as Supergirl appearing. So, look, DC... Walter Hamada wants his own DC universe. He wants the Hamadaverse. Hate that term. But that's what he wants. Now, the Flash movie could be looked at as a reboot to entirely cut away everything and cause a new DC universe. Of course, keeping some characters, actors, stuff like that, but a new DC universe, and that's what the Flash film is going to be used for. Now, it could be done in a major way or a very, very small way. But who knows at this stage? Talks about the multiverse. They keep talking about the multiverse. But if you're going to talk about the multiverse, why can't we have the Batman? Why can't we have James Gunn's Suicide Squad? Why can't we have the Snyderverse? Why are you ignoring certain parts of the multiverse? Because it can all work, but you're just picking and choosing what you want to work. But we'll have to see how that goes. You could set up an entirely new Justice League. You could have Jason Momoa's Aquaman stays on, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman stays on, Ezra Miller's Flash stays on, and the rest of the league is a new league with a Supergirl, with a Batgirl, with a Black Superman. That's possibilities that could happen right now, because, the DC universe that they're trying to shape is complicated, it's weird right now, and it just seems like they're trying to throw shit at a wall and seeing exactly what sticks for them going down the future. Now, they also mentioned that in a separate paragraph, the Shazam world, Black Adam, Shazam 2. I do think The Rock is trying to build his own DC universe, the Shazamverse, so we'll see how that goes. But they also mentioned other projects like Blue Beetle, Batgirl, Supergirl, Green Lantern, and Static Shock, Satana as well, and also the third Wonder Woman movie. Now, okay, so Wonder Woman 84 came out. I think the Snyder Cut was better received. But 2 days after Wonder Woman 84 came out, Wonder Woman 3 is happening. Patty Jenkins is coming back. And Patty Jenkins is like, what? Well, I never said I was coming back. I'm going to do a Star Wars movie. So it's funny how the Snyder Cut's been out, 10 days now? 2 weeks nearly? 2 weeks. Not a word about numbers, subscriptions, viewership. Not a peep about it. So that's funny. And Wonder Woman 2 or 3 was announced 2 days after Wonder Woman 2 came out. So, look, it's shady. It looks like they're trying to cover up the success of the Snyder Cut, which is disappointing. We've no real numbers to look at either. But in this article, bar that paragraph about Darkseid, they didn't really mention Zack Snyder's world or an expansion or a continuation of it whatsoever. So we'll have to see how that goes. Maybe it's a good sign for the Snyder Cut, maybe it's a bad sign. I just don't know at this stage. But they did mention the Black Superman story that's going to happen with J.J. Abrams. So they don't know if that's going to be in the separate art like the Batman, or in the multiverse, or in the DCU. Nobody knows at this stage. I don't even think DC know at this stage. I think they're just seeing what works for them, what's going to work with the Flash movie and the Batman movie, and see, and then try and tie everything together. But they talked about spin-offs of shows. Suicide Squad will have a Peacemaker show. The Batman will have a Gotham PD show. You know, that seems to be the universe they're trying to build right now. But I just think if you're doing all this kind of stuff, which is cool, I'm here for it. I'm going to watch it. Wow, I'm a DC fan. I love it. Why can't you do the Snyder Cut, the Snyderverse over here? You know, why not? Why not? Just put money at it. There's money being made. Zack Snyder's Justice League has probably been the biggest streaming success in, like, you know, it's a big success in terms of engagement online. People are raving about the movie. So I just don't see how you can ignore the success of that movie and say, no more is happening. But guys, we'll have to wait and see. The next few DC movies will tell a lot. Maybe the Flash movie will be the one we'll know if they're going to reboot everything. But we're still waiting on Snyder Cut numbers. We don't know what's going to happen. They mentioned this article about multiple Batmen. We know that Michael Keaton supposedly is supposed to appear in the Flash movie. Ben Affleck's supposed to appear as well. Is it going to reboot for an entirely new Justice League team where Michael Keaton's Batman is the mentor to the Justice League team then going forward, and it's a complete reboot? I just don't know. I don't know at this stage, and it's kind of confusing and annoying as a DC fan. The greenlit projects might not even happen. Like Blue Beetle's announced, Batgirl, Green Lantern Corps, Status Shock. Those might never happen, guys. That's why I'm not excited. Look, if this was Marvel and they said, oh, this and this is happening, I'd be like, oh, that's cool. I can't wait to watch that. But no, we don't know exactly if these movies or shows will ever happen. Until I can sit down and press play, guys, I'm not going to believe it. And that's coming from someone who's followed DC for a number of years now. I just don't believe anything that they say whatsoever. But I am looking forward to the projects that are going into development soon, and some of the ones that have been created already, the Suicide Squad and the Batman. We'll see how that all goes. But yeah, it's kind of annoying how they ignore the success of the Snyder Cut, but lament things like Satana and Static Shock, projects that aren't even coming out anytime soon. Because I want to hear your thoughts. Are you disappointed that the New Gods and the Trench movies are not happening anymore? What do you think this means for Zack Snyder's Justice League? Is it good? Is it bad? I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Give a like, comment, subscribe, come follow me on all the social media. That stuff is in the end credits, guys. And yeah, let's see what this DC universe has in store for us. Is it shaped? Is it thought out? Is it constructed well? Or is it a mess? Is it shit being thrown against the wall? We'll have to see. Check out the next DC film to find out. And Walter Hamada in We Trust. It is April Fool's Day.